On December 31st, 2006, something strange happened inside the British Treasury. No cameras, no speeches, no headlines. Just a quiet transfer of money, $83 million, sent from Britain to the United States. With that payment, Britain finished paying off a debt created more than 60 years earlier. This wasn't a loan for a modern crisis. This was the final installment of World War II. 3 generations of British taxpayers had lived their entire lives under this obligation. People born after the war, long after Churchill and Roosevelt were gone, were still paying America for a conflict officially declared won in 1945. And here's the uncomfortable truth rarely taught. This debt wasn't the price of victory, it was the price of survival. Before the war, Britain wasn't weak, it wasn't desperate, it wasn't declining. In 1939, Britain stood at the center of the global system. The British Empire covered nearly a quarter of the Earth's land surface. Red ink on world maps stretched from Canada to India, from Africa to Australia. British money financed railways in South America, mines in Africa, plantations in Asia, and oil fields in the Middle East. London was the financial heart of the world. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. Britain didn't just rule territory, it ruled trade. This wasn't just military power, it was financial dominance. And that dominance is exactly what would be dismantled. In the years before the war, wealth flowed through London. Banks, insurers, traders, British capital shaped global markets. Britain held enormous gold reserves, second only to the United States. This wealth allowed Britain to maintain an empire without constant warfare. Money did the work, trade did the work, finance did the work. But wars don't respect balance sheets. When Germany invaded Poland and Britain declared war, everything changed overnight. By 1940, Britain stood alone. France had fallen. Nazi bombers filled the night sky over London. German submarines hunted British supply ships across the Atlantic. Factories burned. Cities were bombed. Food was rationed. Britain needed weapons, oil, steel, aircraft immediately. And only one country could supply them: the United States. America was officially neutral. Congress had passed the Neutrality Acts to keep the U.S. out of European wars. But buried inside those laws was a financial trap called cash and carry. Britain could buy American weapons, but only if it paid cash up front. No loans, no credit. Gold or dollars only. Britain had no choice. So it paid, and paid, and paid. In June 1940, Britain launched Operation Fish, shipping its remaining gold across a submarine-infested Atlantic. Billions in physical wealth crossed the ocean just to keep supplies flowing. By the end of 1940, the gold was gone. On December 8, 1940, Winston Churchill wrote to President Franklin Roosevelt. History presents this as a plea for help between allies. But read carefully, and you see something else. Churchill admitted Britain was completely broke. Not strained, not struggling, bankrupt. Britain could no longer pay for American supplies. The war had consumed everything in just 7 months. This wasn't a request for charity. It was the beginning of Britain negotiating the terms of its own liquidation. Publicly, Roosevelt explained Lend-Lease with a friendly metaphor. If your neighbor's house is on fire, you lend them a hose. It sounded generous. It sounded moral. But behind closed doors, Lend-Lease was nothing like that. America would help Britain, but only after Britain sold everything it owned. U.S. Treasury Secretary Henry Morgenthau Jr. demanded a full audit of the British Empire. Every asset, every company, every overseas investment, public and private. Britain was fighting for survival, but America wanted proof of total desperation first. British officials warned that forced sales during wartime would destroy long-term wealth. Morgenthau didn't care. If Britain still had assets, America wouldn't pay. To prove Britain was truly broke, Morgenthau demanded a sacrifice. A major British-owned American company was seized and sold at half its value. The dollars went directly to the U.S. Treasury. Britain paid its own citizens in pounds, increasing internal debt. This wasn't aid, it was foreclosure. By mid-1941, Britain had liquidated over $1 billion in American assets. Only then did Lend-Lease officially begin. Even before Lend-Lease, Britain struck another deal. 50 obsolete U.S. destroyers, ships America didn't want, were exchanged for 99-year leases on British military bases across the Atlantic and Caribbean. Those bases became the backbone of American global power. Britain traded strategic dominance for scrap metal. Buried inside Lend-Lease was Article 7. Britain agreed to eliminate imperial trade protections after the war. That meant opening empire markets to American corporations. British negotiators knew immediately this would destroy the economic foundation of the empire. But German bombers were overhead. Britain signed. In August 1945, the war ended. 7 days later, America terminated Lend-Lease instantly. Supply ships were ordered to turn back mid-Atlantic. Britain, still dependent on American imports, faced starvation. Forced to beg for a loan, Britain accepted devastating conditions. When the pound became convertible, the world dumped it for dollars. Britain lost hundreds of millions in weeks. By 1947, Britain admitted it could no longer act as a global power. The torch passed. Britain wasn't conquered by Germany, it was bought. America emerged holding most of the world's gold, the reserve currency, global military bases, and unmatched influence, all without firing a shot at Britain. The debt lasted until 2006. The empire never returned. This is how modern power works, not through invasion, but through finance. Crisis creates dependency. Dependency forces concessions. Concessions transfer wealth. Britain survived Hitler, but paid with its future.